its hinterland. This Carnatic, so let's talk about the Carnatic. So Carnatic was also one of the Suba. Suba means province of the Mughal India. So it was one of the province of the Mughal India, and initially it was under the viceroyalty of the Hyderabad, but the way Hyderabad became autonomous, Carnatic also became autonomous during the later Mughal period. Then, so the way Hyderabad freed itself from the control of the later Mughal emperors, Carnatic also freed itself from the later Mughal emperors. But when we talk about the Carnatic War, so it is not just about the Anglo-French rivalry, but also these two Indian states, Hyderabad and Carnatic, are party to it. And development in the Hyderabad and Carnatic are the reason which actually leads to the fight between the English and French. Then not all the time, but many a times, that developments inside these kingdoms, they are leading to the war between British and French. So let's begin with the Carnatic. And in the Carnatic, first thing that we'll talk about, that little bit of information about the Hyderabad and little bit of information about the Carnatic. So let's begin with the, just 1 minute. So Anglo-French rivalry, and or you can say Carnatic Wars. Rivalry or Carnatic Wars. And the very first thing that we'll be writing is the Hyderabad. थोड़ा बहुत सुन लो हैदराबाद के बारे में. So Hyderabad, listen, that Hyderabad, this Hyderabad, as I said to you, that it was a viceroyalty of the Mughals. It was a Suba. Basically, you understand that Suba matlab province. So it was one of the province of the Mughals. And in this area, that in Hyderabad area, so the governor of this area from 1713 to 1722 onwards, that 22, in between 1713 to 1722, there was a one person, one noble of the Mughals. His name was Chin Kelech Khan. So Chin Kelech Khan was the governor of the Hyderabad. Then between 1713 to 1719, this Chin Kelech Khan, he was also given the title of the Asaf Jah. He was also known as Asaf Jah. So basically you have studied during the later Mughal period that this Asaf Jah or Chin Kelech Khan, he was the one who helped Muhammad Shah Rangila to eliminate Sayyid brothers. Then, so when Sayyid brothers were eliminated, so as a token of gratitude, Asaf Jah was given the very important position of the Wazir. So he was given the very important position of the Wazir in the Mughal kingdom. So 1722 to 24 onward, that between 2022 so 24, he was the Wazir of the Mughal kingdom. But what happened, as you know, that Mughal emperor Muhammad Shah Rangila, he was weak, frivolous, and then also weak, frivolous, and always indulged in the pleasure and very prone to the flattery. So this person, Chin Kelech Khan, he wanted to revive the glory of the Mughals and to free it from the corruption. So he wanted some administrative reforms. When he started this administrative reforms, so he made many enemies for himself, and that's what happens. That when you are doing a right, that going for a good cause or bad cause, both the ways you invite enemies for yourself. So here he also made some enemies for himself, and then those enemies started to conspire against him. Then, and moreover, Muhammad Shah Rangila, he also started to doubt about the Chin Kelech Khan. So frustrated by the attitude of the Mughal ruler, he decided that now it would be very foolish for me to try to reform the Mughal administration. Rather, it is time to pursue your own ambition, your own aspiration. And that's how in 1724 he removed the then governor of the Deccan. His name was Mubariz Khan. He defeated and killed Mubariz Khan in Battle of Kheda. And in 1724 he established Hyderabad, semi-independent autonomous state. And then he took the title Nizamul Mulk. Then, so Nizamul Mulk. So this person, Chin Kelech Khan, it's one name which we know, which is the original, but he Famously, he came to be known as the Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah. So Asaf Jahi dynasty was established in Hyderabad, and then the first ruler, Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah. Then Chinkilij Khan was known with this name, and later on all the successors of the Chinkilij Khan, they will be known as the Nizam of the Hyderabad. So that's how the Nizam of the Hyderabad word came to picture. So please write few words about him. So you write Chinkilij Khan, also known as Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah, also known as Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah, was a noble of Turani group. Turani, I hope that I mentioned in the very second class, Turkish group, Turani group. Then you mention in between 1713 to 1722, in between 1713 to 1722, he was the Viceroy of Deccan. He was the Viceroy of Deccan. He was the Viceroy of Deccan, full stop. Then you write, he supported Muhammad Shah, in killing Sayyid brothers. He supported Muhammad Shah in killing Sayyid brothers. Full stop. Then you write, full stop. In return, he was offered the post of Wazir. In return, he was offered the post of Wazir in the Mughal Empire at Delhi. Post of Wazir in the Mughal Empire at Delhi. Full stop. Then after that you write, as a Wazir of Delhi, he tried to reform. As a Wazir of Delhi, he tried to reform the corrupt Mughal administration. As a Wazir of Delhi, he tried to reform the corrupt Mughal administration, but earned many enemies for himself. But earned many enemies for himself. Then you write, after full stop, disgusted with the suspicious nature of the Mughal emperor, he decided to pursue his own ambition. Full stop. He decided to pursue his own ambition. In 1724, he killed the governor of Deccan. Mubariz Khan, in Battle of Kheda. and established Asaf Jahi Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. So that's how Hyderabad was created. This you got to know. Now listen about the Carnatic. So when it comes to the Carnatic, so as I said to you that it was also one of the province of the Mughals then, and here also that one governor was appointed from the time of the Aurangzeb itself. So if you remember the person which I mentioned after the death of the Bahadur Shah first, Zulfikar Khan. So Zulfikar Khan was the governor. Initially he was the governor of the Carnatic only, and then onwards that new governors were there, but it was only at the time of the Sadat Khan. So Sadatullah Khan, that he ensured the autonomy and semi-independent status of the Carnatic. Then so ensured the autonomy and semi-independent status of the Carnatic. So from here onwards, that after from the Sadatullah Khan onwards, basically the rulers of the Carnatic, they came to be known as the Nawab of Carnatic. So just the way we mentioned that rulers of the Hyderabad, their title is the Nizam. In Carnatic it is Nawab. In Bengal it was Nawab. Then in Mysore what they call, so Mysore they call themselves Sultan. Then and then in Marathwada, so that Maharaj. In Punjab, Maharaja. So these are the different names of the rulers, that how they are called. But here, so the Carnatic ruler came to be known as the Nawab, and Sadatullah Khan. Sadatullah Khan was the one who firmly established Carnatic autonomous status. Then another thing that Sadatullah Khan, after his death, he chose his successor. Then so he chose his successor, and when that successor died, so what happened that that successor, I'll tell you that who was successor, Dost Ali. So when Dost Ali died, so the relative of the Dost Ali, Chanda Sahib, was to become the ruler of the Carnatic. But at this point of time, listen carefully, when Chanda Sahib was to become the ruler of the Carnatic, so that was the time when what happened, that Marathas were often attacking in adjoining areas. Then so what they did is that they captured Chanda Sahib. Then they captured Chanda Sahib, and when they captured Chanda Sahib, so this is the very first time that French intervened. Then French intervened. They wanted Chanda Sahib to be the ruler of the Carnatic, and if he would be becoming the ruler of the Carnatic, so French will get some political mileage because they are supporting him. So with the support of the French, that Chanda Sahib was freed, and then he was to become the ruler of the Carnatic. But there was another relative of the, or person from the same blood, Muhammad, that this Anwaruddin, Nawab Anwaruddin. So Anwaruddin became the Nawab of the Carnatic, and Chanda Sahib was not able to become the Nawab of the Carnatic. So when the French and English, they started to fight, so these two people took the sides of the French and English, that we are going to talk about, that Anwaruddin took the side of the British, and then French were always allied with the Chanda Sahib. So we'll see these all developments. But here what I need to mention, that one such thing, that the internal crisis which was there in the Carnatic area, it provided avenues to this European companies to intervene in their politics, and that's how not only that they were fighting with each other, but they also, and not they, I will say, English were the one who consolidated their position after these all Carnatic wars were over. So please write few words, that you write Carnatic, or Carnatic के बाद लिखो. Carnatic was the Coromandel coast. Carnatic was the Coromandel coast and its hinterland. Carnatic was the Coromandel coast and its hinterland. It was one of the province of the, or Suba, but you write province. It was one of the province of the Mughal India. Province of the Mughal India. Full stop. Then you mention just as in practice, after full stop, just as in practice, the Nizam had become independent of Delhi. Nizam had become independent of Delhi. So did the governor of Carnatic. Full stop. So did the governor of Carnatic. He freed himself from the control of Mughal ruler and made his office hereditary. Then what I said to you, that accordingly what happened, so this Nawab whose name was Sadatullah Khan, so he was the one, and then after he appointed his successor Dost Ali. Dost Ali was basically next successor, but what happened that Marathas invaded Carnatic, they killed Dost Ali and they took his successor, Dost Ali's successor Chanda Sahib as the prisoner. So when Chanda Sahib was taken as the prisoner, so another relative of the Sadatullah Khan, his name was the Anwaruddin, he became the Nawab, but later on because of the French support, Chanda Sahib was released, and when he was released, so he tried to become the ruler of the Nawab, but already the Nawab is Anwaruddin. So here there is an intervention from both the sides. So please write, accordingly Nawab Sadatullah Khan, Nawab Sadatullah Khan appointed his nephew Dost Ali as the next successor. But meanwhile, Marathas invaded Carnatic. And killed Dost Ali and took his son-in-law Chanda Sahib as a prisoner. So Dost Ali's son-in-law was Chanda Sahib. So took Chanda Sahib, who was son-in-law of Dost Ali, as a prisoner to Satara. Then further you mention, meanwhile Anwaruddin became Nawab of Carnatic. So there are so many names. I can understand, I can sympathize with you that it must be going in your mind that there's many names are there and who is coming after whom. So you will be feeling that ki kaise yaad hoga. See, don't pressurize yourself, and don't pressurize yourself in remembering the names and everything. You just look at the greater cause, that what is happening in the Carnatic area, that it is a kind of a crisis then, and how the crisis is getting unfolded, rather than emphasizing on that who came to power and then after whom who came to power. Rather, you look at that how the internal crisis is unfolding, and then how the Britishers will intervene into this one. So this you need to remember. And when it comes to remembering the names, it cannot happen in just one class, or it cannot just happen in one reading or two reading or even third reading. It needs a little bit of time. So you need to revise the syllabus time and again in a scientific fashion. So in a scientific fashion, so then it will be there in your mind. So please unnecessarily don't over expect from yourself. This is what I have observed, that many a time student over expect from themselves कि एक बार में पढ़ा और मैं सुपर ह्यूमन हूँ, याद हो जाएगा. नहीं होता है ऐसा. It will take little bit of time. Then so don't be concerned about remembering these names at the first instance itself, but rather try to look at this with the perspective of understanding the crisis which is going to unfold and how British and French will try to utilize this crisis. So what I said, so Chanda Sahib, prisoner. Anwaruddin became new Nawab. Now, Chanda Sahib, he would be that French will intervene and he will be freed. He will become free. When he will become free, so he would claim the Carnatic area, and this is the crisis. So there are two people who are fighting for the Nawabship of Carnatic. Then, so this is the crisis, and here the two parties are intervening. So Britishers will support Anwaruddin, and then Chanda Sahib would be supported by French. Even if you don't remember these all names, chalega. Then you remember just Chanda Sahib and Anwaruddin for the time being. So please write what you, meanwhile you have written Anwaruddin became Nawab of Carnatic. Then you write later, Chanda Sahib was released. Later, Chanda Sahib was released from Maratha captivity. Later, Chanda Sahib was released from Maratha captivity. Then, Maratha captivity. After which, the affairs of Carnatic started to deteriorate. After which, affairs of Carnatic started to deteriorate. Full stop. Which provided an opportunity to the European trading companies, to directly intervene in the Carnatic politics. Carnatic politics. Then full stop. Then next line you write and you change paragraph. So after changing paragraph, please mention for next 20 to 23 years, the English and French, next 20 to 23 years, the English and French remained embroiled in a bitter war, popularly known as Carnatic Wars. So from here onwards we'll be talking about these Carnatic Wars, and there are 3 Carnatic Wars. So we'll try to see that we'll be seeing the reasons of the Carnatic War, that why the outbreak was there and what was the outcome of these all wars, and then after, not just the outcome since it is related to the European companies, so we will see the consequences also. So what were the consequences then? So let's begin with the very first Carnatic War then. So first Carnatic War. So mention first Carnatic War. First Carnatic War. Then first Carnatic War, and it is 1742 to 1749. 48, not 9. 1742 to 1748. Now listen, that what were the reasons of this first Carnatic War? So basically the reasons of the first Carnatic War were not based in India. And this Anglo-French War, this is the Anglo-French War. So the reasons of this war were not based in India, but instead it was the development in the Europe which led to the fight in India. So what was this development? So basically 1740, here I have written Carnatic War 1742, but you listen, 1740 there was this Austrian War of Succession in the Europe. Then so Austrian War of the Succession in the Europe, and what is this Austrian War of Succession? So the Habsburg Empire of the Austria, and then that covered a large part of the Europe. So that covered a large part of the Europe. So that Habsburg Empire, so the ruler of the Habsburg Empire, Charles VI, listen carefully. So on 20th October, this Austrian War of Succession started. So Charles VI, when he died, so this War of Succession started, and as per the will of the Charles VI, after his death, his daughter Maria Theresa, she will become the ruler. So she will be becoming the ruler. But what happened? That other relatives of the Theresa and other relatives, they started to claim the throne of the Habsburg Empire. So this other person was the Charles Albert, who was from the Bavaria, Saxony. These all names you don't need to write. I'm just completing the story. So Charles Albert, so there was this fight between the Charles Albert and Maria Theresa for the claim of the Austrian Empire. Now, so Maria Theresa, her claim was supported by the British, and when British supported Maria Theresa claim, so French came on the side of the Charles Albert. So Charles Albert, so on this question, these two, that British and French, they started to fight in Europe. So they started to fight in Europe. The Austrian War of Succession began in Europe 20th of October 1740. Within 1 year only, that it is October now, so 1740 October. So after, you can say that one year, 4 or 5 months, or in 1742. So in India, these companies also started to fight. So wherever these companies were there, दुनिया में कहीं पे भी ये दोनों company थे, चाहे they were there in the America, they were there in the East Asia, all the places they started to fight with each other. Since their original countries were at the fight with each other, so they started to fight with each other all the places. So in India also they started to fight with each other. And when they started to fight with each other, so basically in India the war was not started by the British, but it was started by the French. There was this French governor, Francois Dupleix. Then you know his name very well. So Dupleix was the one who decided to attack on the English possessions in Madras. So he attacked on the English possessions in Madras, and as such Britishers were not expecting here in the Madras that French will attack. So what happened, that they surrendered. Then they had no option but just to surrender. So they surrendered, and after this they surrendered, so they also sought the help of the Nawab of Carnatic. You listen carefully. Britishers also sought the help of the Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin, and as such Anwaruddin readily sent his forces to fight on the behalf of the Britishers. But French already, they have defeated Britishers, and when the Nawab's forces are coming, so they were also thoroughly defeated. And what happened? So when they were thoroughly defeated, so at this point of time in 1748 itself, the Austrian War of Succession, it also came to end over there in the Europe. So also came to end in Europe, whereby everybody accepted the claim of the Maria Theresa. So everybody accepted the claim of Maria Theresa. So as such, there was one treaty, and Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, which happened. So since the war came to an end in the Europe, so here also companies stopped fighting with each other. We'll see that what is going to happen in the this Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. So please write, War of the Austrian succession, War of the Austrian succession, which started on 20th October, 1740, after the death of Charles VI, after the death of Charles VI, then you write Charles VI, Britain supported the claim of Maria Theresa. Britain supported the claim of Maria Theresa, and France supported the claim of Charles Albert. France supported the claim of Charles Albert. Charles Albert, full stop. Then you write, the outbreak of war in Europe found reflection in India also. And the two companies started to fight with each other. Full stop. Then after that full stop you write, French Governor Dupleix attacked on Madras. French Governor Dupleix attacked on Madras. As such, British surrendered. Full stop. British also appealed to Nawab of Carnatic Anwaruddin for help. Full stop. Nawab sent his forces against French. But it suffered a crushing defeat. Then after that you change paragraph and then you write. So you write, however, the end of Austrian War of Succession, also led to the end of First Carnatic War. With Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Now what I said to you, एक बार सुन लेना उस बात को, that I said to you that when this war started in the Europe, so what happened that these companies started to fight at the other places also, not just in India, but they were fighting in the America also. So in America, that Canada area, and then North America. So basically, so here they were fighting with each other. Now I'll tell you a little bit of story related to the which all places who was victorious. So when it was in India, French were, they thoroughly defeated British here. You have written this. But in North America, British were successful against the French. And there is one area. So let me draw the diagram of the North America. Let me just tell you that what was this, where was this area. So it's not a very good diagram, but generally, so this area, you see that from here onwards, you have the Canada part. This area, this is the Nova Scotia. Then Nova Scotia. So originally Nova Scotia was there with the French. Then this was there with the French. Originally that it was a French settlement. When the Britishers defeated them, so what happened? So they controlled Nova Scotia. And when it comes to India, so you know that Madras here, so Madras, so it is originally British area, but controlled by French. So French were victorious here. If I write that originally, so here British victorious and here French victorious. So what happened as per this Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, the war was over in the Europe, but as per the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, that here French needed to restore the British territory and British restored the French territory. Then, so British restored the French territory in the North America. So this treaty is not just limited to the Carnatic in India, but overall all over the world where these companies are involved, these countries are involved. So I hope you understood this particular international scenario of this particular war. So you write Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. So you mention, as per the terms of treaty, English possessions in India, that is Madras, was restored. English possession in India was restored, and French got back their North American territory. French got back their North American territory. So I hope you understood there is not much complication in the very first war. Then, and when if a question comes in your paper or any place, if it is asked to you that the reasons of the first Carnatic War, what about this particular first Carnatic War is true. So reasons based in India, reason based outside India. So it would be reasons based outside India. That reasons of this first Carnatic War did not developed on the Indian ground, but it developed on the European ground. But that is not the case with the second Carnatic War. In second Carnatic War, the reasons of the outbreak of the war, it purely developed on the Indian soil. Then, so it purely developed on the Indian soil. And here you can, again you will feel that फिर से दोबारा इतने सारे नाम. So, but याद हो जाएगा. Have faith in yourself, and moreover, over the period, it will take a little bit of time to remember all those things. So, Second Carnatic War. Second Carnatic War. So Second Carnatic War. So this is 1749 to 54. 1749 to 54. So listen, that what is the reason of the outbreak of the Second Carnatic War? First of all, listen that the reasons are based at two places. One is the Hyderabad and Carnatic also, both the places. So Hyderabad and Carnatic. अभी समझ लो ऐसे यहाँ पे. So in Hyderabad, what was the development that Nizam of Hyderabad, the first Nizam, Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah, Chinkilej Khan. Then, so Asaf Jah died. Asaf Jah, death in 1748. And in Carnatic, Battle of Ambur, and this Battle of Ambur is between French versus Anwaruddin. Then, so this is not a Carnatic war. Battle of Ambur is between French and Anwaruddin. Why French are fighting with the Anwaruddin? They didn't like the idea in the first Carnatic war that how come you, who are you to support or send your forces against us? When we as a European rivals, we are fighting with each other. So any native state, any native ruler must not jump in. But he sent his forces then. So obviously they wanted to teach him lesson, and how they teach him the lesson? He was Anwaruddin dead. Then, so Anwaruddin dead in the Battle of Ambur, 1749. So now, the Nizam's place is vacant over there in the Hyderabad, and Nawab's place is vacant over here in the Carnatic. दोनों जगह पे. Now, French, what they did, that there were two belligerents in the Hyderabad. I'm writing their names. So these two belligerents in Hyderabad after the death of the Asaf Jah. So one was Muzaffar Jung. Muzaffar Jung. And then another was the Nasir Jung. So these were the two belligerents in Hyderabad. Both wanted to become the Nawab. So French started to support Muzaffar Jung. Then after the death of the Anwaruddin, there was one son of the Anwaruddin. His name was Muhammad Ali. So Muhammad Ali and already Chanda Sahib, whom I'm mentioning from the beginning. So here again, here two belligerents. One is the Chanda Sahib, and another is the son of, so I am writing the relation also, son of Anwaruddin, Muhammad Ali. So son of the Anwaruddin, Muhammad Ali. So here also French are already supporting Chanda Sahib from long time. Then, so when French are supporting Chanda Sahib, okay, for Carnatic, and Muzaffar Jung for this particular Hyderabad, so Britishers were forced to support the other people. Then, so to support the other people, so Nasir Jung was supported by British, and here Muhammad Ali, since he was son of the Anwaruddin, so obviously he would be supported by British. Then, but who was successful in both the places? So successful was the French. That Muzaffar Jung became the ruler, and then here Chanda Sahib became the ruler. So because of this development, the companies started to fight with each other, both the companies. So I hope you're understanding that this diagram which I have created. Chalo, I'll give you 2 minutes so that if you want to write, you write. We'll be writing in the words, but if you want to jot it down, so you can jot it down. Meanwhile, if any question is there, so you can ask. So Mansi has asked, how did the succession got in favor of Maria Theresa? Then how come Britain and... See, this is not required, Mansi. You just need to remember, we cannot read entire history over here. That will amount to tantamount to the reading the entire world history, and that is not required from the syllabus. That's what I say to all of you, that we need to be very specific. We need to be very topic oriented and course oriented. That what is required for us. We have nothing to do with that, how the Maria Theresa won, and how that what all things happened, because that's the part of the world history. Even in the world history also, you don't need to read that in the main syllabus when world history part would be there. So we are not required to listen about or read about the Maria Theresa. You just remember the fact, itna hi required hai, that Maria Theresa claim was kind of that it was upheld. And since already that Charles VI who was the ruler, so he has already written his will, that Charles VI written his will that Maria Theresa would be the ruler. So obviously that there was a more support for her. So you just remember that how he won. And then how come Britain and Anwaruddin lost the war? So second part of the question is irrelevant, not at all required. And first also I told you that what you need to remember. So it's not a criticism, but it is actually that I need to tell you that what you need to remember, and unnecessarily you don't need to know any other part. We need to be very topic oriented. Then Britishers are more powerful in the context of their army, navy. Then why they are defeated by the French continuously? Who said that they are the most powerful? You are denigrating the French. And nobody, how can it can be counted? Until and unless the war happens, the power of anybody cannot be tested. It's a very subjective thing. Saying somebody is very powerful, it's a very subjective thing. Both were powerful. Nobody was lesser than anyone. Then, so, and there are many tactical. It's not just about the army being powerful or having the great weaponry. It's also the tactics. It's the human mind which plays the war. Then, so you play with mind, then you strategize war with the mind. Then so one time one would be successful and one time other would be successful. And how come you can just, अभी तो पहला पढ़ा भी नहीं है, अभी तो ब्रिटिश की बारी आएगी जब वो हराएंगे. So this is an irrelevant question. I'll say that just please don't ask question for the sake of asking question. I'm very soft on this end. I will become very critical later on. Then I know it very well that when I become very critical, so maybe I will, that half an hour of the class would be lost in that particular criticism. So be very specific, that don't ask questions for sake of asking questions only. Ask relevant questions. Then, so these are something which we can avoid. Then, so let's come to the Second Carnatic War. So I hope you all have jotted down that these all things. Let's move to the what happened over here. So please write few words. In 1748, the Nizam of Hyderabad Asaf Jah died. Asaf Jah died. After which there was a war of succession. After which there was a war of succession started between the two belligerents, Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. Then Nasir Jung, after that you mention. Moreover, in 1749, British killed, oh sorry, no, not British, French killed Nawab of Carnatic Anwaruddin. French killed Nawab of Carnatic Anwaruddin in Battle of Ambur. 1749. in Battle of Ambur 1749. Then full stop. You mentioned in Carnatic, French supported claim of Chanda Sahib and British supported claim of Muhammad Ali, son of Anwaruddin. British supported claim of Muhammad Ali, son of Anwaruddin. Then further you mention after this, in Hyderabad, French were successful. In Hyderabad, French were successful in elevation of Muzaffar Jung as Nizam. French were successful in elevation of Muzaffar Jung as Nizam and Chanda Sahib as Nawab of Carnatic. Full stop. It led to outbreak of Second Carnatic War. Now listen. Here so complexity will start from here, and I will be discussing it in very detail. So just listen that what all things are going to unfold here, you try to understand. So both the places in Hyderabad and in Britain, in Hyderabad and in Carnatic, French are successful. Now, so I need to tell you that this Carnatic area, its capital was Arcot. So capital of the Carnatic was Arcot. Now, listen, that Chanda Sahib became the ruler. So Chanda Sahib is becoming the ruler. And after becoming ruler, that still that other person who is son of the Anwaruddin, Muhammad Ali, is alive. So obviously this Carnatic, if it is the capital, so Chanda Sahib's seat would be, Chanda Sahib would be here. So ऐसे ही समझना that Chanda Sahib is at Arcot. Now this other person, Muhammad Ali, that other belligerent, so Muhammad Ali, he was stationed at Trikonpalli. So nowadays we call it Tiruchirappalli, but this is what was named at that point of time, so Trikonpalli. So they were stationed at Trikonpalli. He was stationed. Now Chanda Sahib wanted to fully eliminate the threat of the Muhammad Ali. Listen this carefully. So he wanted to fully eliminate the threat of the Muhammad Ali. He decided at this point of time that since the outbreak of war already that British French has started to fight, so he decided that he will capture Muhammad Ali, he will attack on Trikonpalli. So he will be attacking on Trikonpalli and then he will capture Muhammad Ali, kill him. Then so Chanda Sahib is moving to this place. समझना इस चीज को, इस entire diagram को. So with his army and French. So Chanda Sahib, I'm writing CS and then plus French. So they are moving to kill Muhammad Ali at here in Trikonpalli. Now, by this time British were defeated. But it does not mean that all the time they would be defeated. And moreover, for the very first time, in the very first battle of the Carnatic War, they didn't expect it. And I also abhor the question. Please, you guys, please be in the classes attentively. When it is said to you that British were victorious over there in the North America, and then you are posing a question that they were defeated, कुछ भी मन में आए, कुछ भी लिख के भेज दो question की तरह. And this is something which is detested. And then, please, don't misuse the platform of being online. That please don't be nuisance maker on the online platform. Genuinely ask questions. Then that genuinely what you are not able to understand, genuinely which you are not able to figure out. And moreover, while being online, you need to be attentive also that what all details have been provided in the class. Then, so this is a request also, and you all need to pay heed to this one, because I am observing not just here but all the other places, and then different kind of people are preparing for the exam. I don't know how come they will clear the exam. Let me share one experience with you guys, my own experience. Somebody in the class itself, the 2-3 people, they sent the message, and what was the message? Sir, please मेरा नाम लेके हाय बोल दीजिए. What is this? पढ़ने आए हो या हाय बुलवाने आए हो यार? मतलब this is what is ruining of the time. And moreover, be attentive and be focused about this exam. This is not something which is a cakewalk. Then you yourself, that you need to pat yourself, since you have started a journey of the UPSC. This is one of the most difficult exam in the country and also all over the world. So you need to be a little bit serious. Very attentive. So please don't waste your time and don't waste ours time also in creating kind of, it's not just reference to one question, but I'm giving you overall direction that be attentive, be focused, and then also be that you must be framing right questions, relevant question, and the answers which you are not able to figure out. Just for the sake of asking, it is not required. Then it is not appreciated. I know that offline classes, there is a connection, different kind of connection when you are present before us and we are interacting with each other. But since we are not in the normal times, then it's a pandemic then, so there are some limitations. So we will have to operate in this limitation. अब कोई मुझे ये लिख के भेजे कि मुझे हाय लिख के भेज दो या मुझे हाय बोल दो, इसीलिए मैं यहाँ पे खड़ा हूँ कि मैं सबको हाय करता बोलूँ कि 300 नाम दे दो मेरे को एंड सुबह से शाम तक मैं हाय 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 हाय, तो हाय हाय मच जाएगी पूरी क्लास में. So don't take it to heart, but please take my words as a constructive way, and accordingly please operate. Then so please get back to this one. So अब फिर से कहानी सुनानी पड़ेगी मेरे को. I hope you understood this part, that Chanda Sahib, he wanted to capture Muhammad Ali and then kill him. Then so to kill him so that final threat to the Carnatic is removed. At this point of time, what happened, that Britishers who were there in India, they were kind of that there on their part there was less activity. But this time a new general was appointed. Then this new general, his name was Saunders. Then so the new general came to picture in India, Saunders. So Saunders thought at this point of time that he felt need of activity. Saunders felt that there must be need of activity from the British side, and not all the time that they would be surrendering to the French. Then they would be posing threat to the French also. So while he was open guy, and he wanted to put a strong resistance against the French. So at this point of time, since he was discussing, so there was one clerk in the British army. And he was on the writership duty. So he was a clerk, you know the duties of the clerk. Then so he was on a writership duty, and he was very young, just 22 years old. Then so very young, and then he was a clerk. So he came forward to Saunders, and he volunteered that I will fight. Then if you are going to fight with the French, so I will also be the one who will be fighting, and moreover I have a suggestion if you pay heed to. So then Saunders, the good thing about the Saunders was that he was open to any kind of suggestion. There is a one Hindi phrase, very popular Hindi phrase, marta to kya na karta. So yeah, dubte ko tinka sahara. So these are some of the muhavras which are popular in Hindi. So marta to kya na karta, he was open to all the kind of suggestions. Then it was up to the Saunders that which suggestion he is going to listen to, and moreover that he is going to follow. So he said to this young clerk, "ठीक है, you say that what suggestion you have." So this young clerk, listen this very carefully. This young clerk, he said that already the French army with the Chanda Sahib, they are moving to the Trikonapalli. Then they are moving to the Trikonapalli. So what we'll do, that you also defend the Muhammad Ali, little bit of troop you keep with him so that he can be defended, but please give me some soldiers. Then please give me some soldiers, and what we will do that with these soldiers we will lead a siege of Arcot. Then, so we will lead a siege of Arcot, that is the capital of the Carnatic. So we will lead a siege of Arcot. So he forwarded this idea of the siege of Arcot. So siege of Arcot, and he said that this young clerk said that when we will be laying down a siege of the Arcot capital, because already the forces are going to Trikonapalli, so less forces would be there in the Arcot. So we will be capturing the Arcot, their capital, and when this news will reach to the Chanda Sahib, he will return back to the Arcot. Then, so he will, when he would be returning back to the Arcot, so when he will return back to the Arcot, so at this point of time, not only Muhammad Ali would be saved, but also you send a larger force over here. Then, so that here at this place, this Chanda Sahib and French, they are trapped. Then, so already British are inside, and one more British will come from outside. Then, so they are sandwiched between, so this Muhammad Ali and not Muhammad Ali, Chanda Sahib and French will be trapped and they can be killed. So this was an idea, though the idea was risky also, because that it was all dependent upon that this small force, how they are going to capture the Arcot. Then, so the idea was risky also, and this young clerk, he was volunteering for kind of taking that risk. So Saunders gave it a try, and this young clerk, you know, he is considered as the founder of the British Empire in India. Then, so founder of the British nascent British Empire in India, and that was the Robert Clive. Then, so Robert Clive was sent on a mission of Arcot. Then, and he led the siege of Arcot. He captured Arcot. Then, but the news reached exactly the way he elaborated to the Saunders. Same thing was happening. So the news, when it reached to the Chanda Sahib and French forces, they returned back to Arcot because their capital is at threat. Then, so they returned back to Arcot. They surrounded the army. So already Clive has led a siege of the Arcot, and Clive himself is getting besieged by Chanda Sahib forces. So Hindi में अगर जो जानना चाहोगे, so I will say that Clive has led a घेरा of the Arcot, and फ्रेंच एंड चंदा साहिब दोबारा घेर लिया आर्कॉट को और दोबारा घेर लिया क्लाइव को. So that he was besieged by the French and then the Chanda Sahib. Now, so for few days there was a kind of lag of communication that what is happening over here. So for a few days, very valiantly, this Robert Clive, he fought with the very bigger force over here, and they had the smaller force. But why they were not easily killed? Because they were at the important positions in the capital itself. So what happened? So they fought valiantly for 53 days, and by the time of the 53rd day, so the British force came from all the sides, captured Chanda Sahib, killed. So this is how the British first victory in the India against the French was ensured. So this was a very such not just the risky, but moreover strategically and mind-wise it was a very refined strategy. Moreover, I'll tell you one small story here. Then, what is the small story? That in this Arcot episode, when Robert Clive was laying the siege of the Arcot, so how many soldiers were there with the Robert Clive? Near about 500 soldiers were there. Then, and in these 500 soldiers, 300 were Indians and 200 were Britishers. Then, so 300 Indians and 200 Britishers. So you know that 53 days they were fighting very valiantly. They fought with this army. So what happened, that their ration was getting reduced, and only thing by the last week of the fight, only thing which was left in the ration, that was the rice. Then, so that was the rice. So at this point of time, when Robert Clive was inspiring, motivating his own soldiers, so Indian soldiers inspired him. What he said, what they said to the Robert Clive, that it will be enough for all of us. Then what we need to do, that we will be cooking the rice in more water. Then we will be cooking the rice in more water, and we will have the residue water of the rice all the Indians will have the residue water of the rice, and then you Britishers, you eat chawal, you eat rice. So this way they solved the problem of the ration crisis. So they solved the problem of ration crisis, and I hope you know, many of you must be knowing that what we call in many of the states of the India, that this water of the rice, we called it mand in North India. I don't know what is there in the Odisha and then West Bengal and other areas, but in North India they call it mand of the chawal. So this is how they survived, and also by the 53rd day when the British support, bigger British force came, so finally it was all over. So this was an interesting story of the siege of the Arcot. Then, so what was the last line you have written? I think you have written they were successful and outbreak of the war. So अब यहाँ पे थोड़ा बहुत लिख लो. First you write British response. ऐसे heading करके लिखना British response, and in this British response you write in the beginning. In the beginning, the attitude of Britishers. In the beginning, the attitude of the Britishers was callous. In the beginning, the attitude of the Britishers was callous, but when new general came to India, he felt the need of activity. He felt the need of activity. Then you write, at this time, a young clerk, Robert Clive, volunteered to fight. Young clerk Robert Clive volunteered to fight and suggested to create a diversion by attacking on Arcot, capital of Carnatic. Then full stop. So then you write this heading, siege of Arcot. This part, siege of Arcot. So siege of Arcot. It was a big victory for the British. So please mention. Robert Clive was a young British captain. Who attempted to seize Arcot with 200 Europeans and 300 Indian soldiers. 300 Indian soldiers, full stop. But in the turn of events, after full stop, he himself was besieged by French and the forces of Chanda Sahib. But in the turn of event, he himself was besieged by French and the forces of Chanda Sahib. Full stop. Clive inspired his army and fought till 53rd day. fought till 53rd day, when British support finally came, and they defeated French and killed Chanda Sahib. They defeated French and killed Chanda Sahib. Now again listen that one more such development. So though in this war, listen, in this war, second war, so in this second war of the Carnatic, that these people were victorious over here, Britishers, and the treaty which is going to happen, 1754 Treaty of Pondicherry. So they will be setting the tone of the treaty. Since they are victorious, so they will be setting the tone of the treaty. So what was this treaty all about? So as per the terms of the treaty, that Britishers returned back the French territories that they have occupied, but on a condition. They said that Britishers said that this would be returned only when that Dupleix has to be called off from India. Means that Dupleix will have to departure from India, because they were knowing it very well that it was Dupleix who was the real force behind the French. Then, so they were knowing it very well that once the Dupleix is going away from the case of the India, so it will be a easier task for the British to defeat French all the places. Then, so in its entirety. So they set the tone, and as such French government, they called back Dupleix. Then, so they called back Dupleix by the time of this Treaty of Pondicherry, and that's how in the third battle of the Carnatic you will see that in the third battle of Carnatic these Britishers will be completely victorious. Then, so completely victorious against the French. So please write that Treaty of Pondicherry 1754. Treaty of Pondicherry 1754. So I hope you guys have understood this siege of Arcot, what all things happened here in the Arcot. So if at all anybody hasn't understood this part, you can send your query. I will be explaining it. So Treaty of Pondicherry 1754. So you write, while British were victorious in India, oh sorry, not victorious, change kar lena, sorry. So since British were victorious in India, victorious in Carnatic, they set the tone of the treaty. They set the tone of the treaty. Full stop. Then you mention set the tone of the treaty. As per the terms of treaty, French were forced to recall Dupleix from India. French were forced to recall Dupleix from India. But they were allowed to continue their influence on Hyderabad. Then, so continue their influence on Hyderabad. So this is how the Second Carnatic War ended and British were victorious. Now come to the Third Carnatic War. So Third Carnatic War 1758 to 1763. So let's begin with the Third Carnatic War. So please mention Third Carnatic War. Third Carnatic War 1758 to 63. Now listen that this Third Carnatic War, Second Carnatic War, the reasons were based on the Indian soil. First Carnatic War, reasons were based outside Indian soil. And second, last Carnatic War, reasons were based outside Indian soil. So again, the development is happening in the Europe, then and then it will find a reflection over here in India. So between the French and British, the 7-year war broke out. Then and this 7-year war broke out between the British and French. Then so British and French in Europe. Then and the date of this war is 1756. अब यहाँ ये question मत पूछना मेरे से कि no here also 1756 would be there. Then I know it very well that. So and this is how that in many classes people do say that उसमें Austrian War of Succession started in 1740 and here we have written First Carnatic War 1742. Yes, dates are different. Then so the war is starting over here, over there in the Europe, and after some point of time it's finding reflection in India. So 1758 it found reflection in India. So though this war started, 7-year war started in 56, but it found reflection in India in 1758, and these companies started to fight with each other in India from 1758 onwards. So in this third Carnatic War, we have nothing much to discuss, but what is there? So by this time, the Britishers already, you know, that when you taste first success in a particular area, it's a big motivation to you. Then it's a big motivation to you and you are enthusiastic, you're so energetic. Then so British were so enthusiastic and so energetic at this point of time. Moreover, there was some more coherence in the British army. So what happened in the Third Carnatic War? There was one very decisive battle which was fought between the British officer Sir Eyre Coote, and he was the British, and then versus French officer Count de Lally. So French officer Count de Lally. So French officer Count de Lally and British officer Sir Eyre Coote. Very decisive battle was fought, and this battle was Battle of Vandevous. Battle of Vandevous. 1760. So Battle of Vandevous in 1760, in which this person, Sir Eyre Coote, easily defeated Count de Lally. Then so easily that he very comfortably defeated Count de Lally, and since that British were defeated, that French were defeated in 1760 only, but this war ended, 7-year war ended in 63. So this is ending in 63, and then what is happening? So in 63 there was this Treaty of Paris. So with the Treaty of Paris, the conditions would be set in India also. So please write few words about this Third Carnatic War. Dates already I have mentioned on the board, so accordingly you write. The outbreak of 7-year war, between English and French, in all the continents, to establish their imperialist hegemony, got reflection in India also. Then you write, in the Third Carnatic War, French lost Chandranagar, and Nadan Sarkars. To British. Chandranagar and Nadan Sarkars to the British. Then you write, a very decisive battle between a very decisive battle between French officer Count de Lally, spelling you have seen already. So French officer Count de Lally and British officer Sir Eyre Coote was fought in 1760 that is Battle of Vendée was. That is Battle of Vendée was. Full stop. Battle of Vendée was. In which French were thoroughly defeated. In which French were thoroughly defeated. Thoroughly defeated. Full stop. Then further you mention. This war, French were thoroughly defeated. This war put an end to French ambition. This war put an end to French ambition of creating a colonial empire in India. Of creating a colonial empire in India. Done? And then you write a heading, Treaty of Paris. So please mention Treaty of Paris. (1763). So Treaty of Paris 1763. So listen that as per this treaty, what happened that as per this treaty, the Chandranagar and Pondicherry, that which Britishers have lost, so they were restored to the British, that French has lost. So Chandranagar and Pondicherry was restored to the French, and moreover all the areas which they were controlling prior to 1749. So all the areas which were controlled by the French prior to 1749, they were restored to them. But French will have to accept the British protectorate in India, and they were allowed to continue their trade and commerce activity, but they will not interfere into the political affairs of India. So they will not interfere into the political affairs of India, and they will only be as a trade body in India, not as an imperialist body, and they will have to accept British protectorate in India. So you write, as per the treaty, Chandranagar and Pondicherry, as per the treaty, Chandranagar and Pondicherry were restored to the French, and also all the territories prior to 1749. All the territories prior to 1749. Full stop. There you write, though the French were allowed to continue their trade, and retain their trading centers, but they had to accept British protectorate in India. They had to accept British protectorate in India. Full stop. British protectorate in India. Full stop. French also agreed not to interfere in the political affairs of India. Not to interfere in the political affairs of India. Done? So after this part, we need to discuss, I hope you have understood that the kind of development which was there in the Carnatic. So after this part, we need to understand the factors which were responsible for the French defeat. Then, so let's talk about the factors which were responsible for the French defeat. So please mention factors responsible for French defeat. So I said to you in the beginning when we were talking about that European companies and nature of the British and French company. So I'll be using some information later on. And what was that information? That the nature of the companies, that British company was the private company and French company was the government owned company. So let's discuss. So listen that French company. So this is the first reason that I'm going to mention, that because of this difference. So because of this difference, that French was a government-owned company. So government-owned company, French East India Company. So what happened that for each of their operations, they needed consent of the consent of their government in the France. Then so they needed consent of their government. But you know that France are there in India. French are there in India and France is over there in Europe. So there was a lag in the communication. And moreover, you know that when there is a governmental body, so there is so much of politics and then there is so much of lag in the decision making. So always that French operations were marred by this decision making, that lack of the decision making. So because of it being the government company, there were financial difficulties for themselves, and for each of their military operations, they needed to seek the consent of the French government, which created a lag. And on the other hand, British were a private owned company. So for all the time that they don't need to seek the permission of their government. Then, so moreover, British at this point of time, when the third Carnatic War happened, so at this point of time, they were not in crunch of the finances. Why so? 1760 you see this Vandivos is happening, Battle of Vandivos. But uske pehle 1757, what has happened? So 1757, since I haven't talked about this battle, iske baad padhenge. So Battle of Plassey has happened. And in Battle of Plassey, that there was a plunder by the Britishers, that they received a huge bribe from the Nawab of the Bengal. So they received a huge bribe. So there was not a financial difficulty, particularly in this war for the Britishers. Then, so there was a ready availability of the finances for the Britishers at this point of time. There are other reasons also, but first write this one. So you write, French faced financial difficulties. French faced financial difficulties as it was a governmental company. As it was a governmental company. And for each of their military operations, they had to take the permission of French government. They had to take the permission of French government. This is one difference. I will just move from here to some other parallel things in the world. Let's discuss that, since somebody of you asked that, ye strong, wo strong. So obviously at this point of time and from long point of time, that US is the economically most robust country and world's most important GDP. Militarily they are strongest, but listen to this. There is a difference between the US and China when it comes to their GDP. So China's GDP is 1/3 of the US, then obviously that 1/3 of the US, but there are few things which is in China is far commendable than the US. US being a democratically elected government, so there would always be an issue in the democratically elected government, because decision making cannot be fast in the democratically elected government. Same is true about the case of the any democratically elected government, that in India also, that each Tom, Dick and Harry, they will be having their suggestions, then they will be having their suggestions, and they will be having the stake also, and even if it is not happening their own way, so they can create the roadblocks, then there would be so much of protest, there would be so much of blockade. So these all can happen in the democracies, and democracies function in this way. On the other hand, if you look at the China, so China is also that there are two different type of the governments. I'm just telling you, so two different type of the governments, but decision making is not a casualty in the China, then it's not a tragedy of the government. Most of the time in the democratically elected governments, that the decision making is the casualty of the governance process, but not in the communist countries. Then because if they have taken the decision, so there is that nobody has the right to protest against it, or kind of that see a flaw in it. So they can easily control the process. There are other repercussions also of this process, but I'm just comparing the coronavirus situation, whereby that we all know that it emerged from the China, it emerged from the Wuhan, but China controlled it. Then China controlled it with its own governmental action, that there was a speedy decision making, and then moreover, not only speedy decision making, but the citizens, they knew that what they need to follow. Then so no, if anybody is going against the state, so the outcomes are very different for those people. So with this kind of speedy decision making, China was able to control this particular type of the pandemic which emerged from its own place. But all over the world, we are the democratically elected governments. So here, decision making, that it's not only up to the establishment of the day and the government of the day which is going to take the decision. And even if it is having a thumping majority, a crushing majority, even in that situation, there is always an opposition without a single seat in the Lok Sabha. Then, so without a single seat in the Senate. Then, so they will always be creating ruckus. Then, and there would always be creating a ruckus. And then moreover, that this opposition will always try to fight back. So even the issues of development are projected as issues of denigration. Then issues of recession, issues of disgust. Then so this is how that democratically elected governments function. And why we continue with the democratically elected governments, then there is a one benefit, that at least we all have the freedom of expression, which is not there in the China. But since you are comparing the two systems of the government, so then in these two systems of the government, so whenever a type of government decide that how the decision making would be there, then so मैं कहाँ से कहाँ चला गया मुझे नहीं पता है, but since it was relevant to the current situation, and since this government kind of thing came to picture, so that's why I discussed this thing with you. So I hope you're understanding. But when it comes to a private company, so let's get back to the topic. So when it comes to the private company, it's very easy that they can take their own decisions. Then that there are few people, then and they can take their own decisions. They don't need all the time sanction of somebody else. Then so that's why private organization in India also, when you look at the private organization, private corporates, they function well, they progress well, because the decision making is fast. But in governments, it is marred by so many things. And when it comes to our own country, so there are so many impediments. Rather than Vikas coming out of the clutches of the these all kind of misdevelopment, Vikas will be trapped. Then so let's get back to this one. So what you have written, I think you have written something. Yes. So after that, next reason which is responsible for the French defeat, so the call of Dupleix. Very important, the call of Dupleix. So after the call of the Dupleix, what happened? That the new French governor, whose name I wrote अभी थोड़ी देर पहले लिखा था Count de Lally. He was very arrogant person. He was a rash personality. He was very arrogant, and then he always behaved so bossy with his own colleagues. And this will happen to you also. अभी तो बहुत मजा आ रहा है तैयारी करते वक्त, ऐसे क्लासेस में होते तो तुम लोगों को ज्यादा मजा आता, बट तैयारी सबसे मजेदार पीरियड होता है. यू विल एंजॉय द फेज ऑफ द तैयारी प्रिपरेशन, बट वंस यू विल बी देयर इन द सर्विसेज यू विल एंजॉय द ट्रेनिंग पीरियड ऑल्सो. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अ पेड वेकेशन देन in training period, that you can sleep in the classes itself, nobody cares then. So paid vacation, then after starts your journey. So there you will see that in the governmental system that those governmental bosses, they always do one thing, that you will try to belittle the people who are below you, and the person who is up to you, he will belittle you. So in the government companies this is very common. I'm not saying it is universal, it is general, but it is very common that you will see that people, they just show you that they are very bossy, then they are bossy, they are your boss, and they will belittle you. You will come across these all kind of examples, that these all kind of things when you will be there in the services, and maybe some of you will behave like that. When you will be in the upper position, you will also be belittling the other people. मेरे साथ हुआ है तो मैं इसके साथ भी करूँगा. So this is what was happening over here in the French company, that when Count de Lally he came, his nature was like that he was very arrogant, he was very rash, and then he was not at all kind of that coherent with the process, and he was not at all cooperating with his own people. So this is also the one such reason. And Dupleix was altogether different, that he was inspiring his own people, he made it a unit then to behave like a unit, but this was not the case with the Count de Lally. So second you write, after the call of Dupleix, the new French governor, after the recall of Dupleix, the new French governor, Count de Lally, was rash and arrogant, which alienated many of the French officers. Then you write, English victory, next reason, English victory in Plassey ensured smart flow of wealth at their disposal. And the last one you write, smart flow of wealth at their disposal. English were far superior in energy, resources and enthusiasm. So this is how the French were defeated in India, and that's how the episode of the Carnatic comes to an end. So at this place I'll give you the break, and if at all any relevant query is there, so obviously you are welcome to ask, and then I will also be very happy to reply those relevant queries. So whenever I'm critical to you guys, please don't take it to heart, don't take it personal. It's not about, even I don't know you, since only your name is coming to me. So it's all about that we all are, that I am working, or all the faculties, all the team members, all the coordination team members, they are working for your selection. So take it in a constructive way then, because this is a age, what we can do, this is a age where when you say something, people take it otherwise, and then also not only take it otherwise, but they keep a grudge. So please don't do that. It will, keeping grudge, keeping it otherwise, it will not help you, anybody, it will not help in achieving your goals. You must be focused towards achieving your goals then. Chalo. So with those notes, I am giving you the break, and then after the break, we'll continue with the Not, we will start a new topic, Bengal. Very interesting topic, Bengal. Then, so though we'll not be able to complete Bengal today, but it's a big topic. But by the next class, we'll be able to complete the Bengal. Then, so let's take break. So listen, that so Mansi has asked this question, that third point factor responsible for the French defeats. Sure, Mansi, I'll tell you. So the third point, what I think that I just forgot the sequence that what I dictated, but let me guess that this is the third point which I made, that they were very superior in energy. I think this one you want. So when it comes to the superior in energy, this is what happens. This is all together related to the human behavior. Why energy? Because it will happen to you also. It once, suppose there are many people who are not able to clear the exam for first attempt, second attempt, but once they clear first time, they clear all the other exam. So it's just that the defeat of the French in the Battle of Arcot or Siege of Arcot, or the victory of the British in Siege of Arcot, it was a great motivation for them, and they started to work as a unit. Then they started to work as a unit. On the other hand, French were not working as a unit, and British were helping each other. So this is what I call the superior in energy. Then that when you are cooperating with each other, so that is how that you are cooperating with the others, and then they are cooperating with the others. So everybody is cooperating with each other. So it means that the entire energy of the group is very high as compared to the other group in which the people were kind of that disgruntled with each other. So how come they will have the energy then? And moreover, energy, motivation, and unified command. So these all things which were there in the Britishers. So I think that you asked this one. So if you have asked other factor, you send it. मैं फिर से repeat कर दूंगा, ठीक है? So now let's look at some of you guys have asked about the Carnatic diagram. So I didn't create it. So let me show you the diagram of the Carnatic. Then एक मिनट रुक जाओ. I will show you the diagram of the Carnatic. So that one image of the Carnatic. Just 1 minute. Give me a minute. On a projector. Okay, point was about Plassey battle. No issues, Mansi. That अभी थोड़ा सा तुम्हारा question आगे का हो जा रहा है. अभी पढ़ेंगे थोड़ी देर में Plassey ही, ठीक है? So you will understand. Battle of Plassey was there in the there in the Bengal, where Sirajuddaulah was defeated, and Sirajuddaulah was defeated. So the new person who came to power, his name was Mir Zafar. He gave near about 2,75,000 pounds as war indemnity to the British. So that is the smart flow of the wealth. Means that they have a huge amount of wealth at this point of time. That's what I said. So you look at this image of the this particular. Listen. Carnatic. Some of you asked about that. This diagram of the Carnatic. So I'm just showing you. एक बार देख लो तुम लोग. So this is the Carnatic area. You can see it very clearly. This part, what we say today, that this is the Andhra part, and originally if you go by the naming of this part, which is starting from here, this is the Royal Seema of the Andhra. This is all called as the Royal Seema of the Andhra. In the people who are from the Telugu area, they understand it, that this is the Royal Seema. So ये पूरा इलाका हो गया, ठीक है? And this is the area of the Visakhapatnam, that you can say that starting from the Visakhapatnam, then Visakhapatnam, Kakinada, Masulipattnam, then going till the Madras, so Madras, and then here till that you will see that this is the Travancore, but otherwise this area is the Madurai area over here. So here is the Madurai, so entire, and here what is there? Kanyakumari is there. So if we start from the Kanyakumari, then if we start from the Kanyakumari and we go till this particular, this area, and also if we leave the Mysore, so this is overall Carnatic area. I hope that it is very clear. Now you can see that which part is the Carnatic. Then और Hyderabad तो सबको clear होगा ही, that Telangana part we call it Hyderabad. So that was the Hyderabad area. So this is the diagram. Now I will just चलो diagram रहने देता हूँ. Next part. So what we needed to begin with, so we are going to start with the Bengal. Then so Bengal. So when I talk about the Bengal, so Bengal, first of all, Bengal was the richest province of India by this point of time. Then so we are talking about the 1750s onwards, and it was the richest province of India, Mughal India. Moreover, Bengal, what kind of state was the Bengal? So Bengal was the successor state of the Mughal then. And as I said to you, it was the very first state to be created. And who was the ruler? So the person who created Bengal, who formed Bengal, was the Murshid Quli Khan in 1717 at the time of the Farrukhsiyar only. And the rulers of the Bengal, they were also called as the Nawab. Just the way Carnatic ruler is called as the Nawab, Bengal ruler was also called as the Nawab. So let's begin with, I hope that you have seen this diagram. So now I am closing it. Then बंद कर दो इसको, ठीक है? So now let's begin with the Bengal. So you write in the beginning some chronology related aspect. पहले लिख लो, then I will tell you the story. So foundation was in 1717 by Murshid Quli Khan. By Murshid Quli Khan. So the foundation of Bengal was in 1717 by Murshid Quli Khan. And then after Murshid Quli Khan, next one. So Murshid Quli Khan, this person was there till 1727. ठीक है, यहीं पे लिख देता हूं मैं कि his time period was there till 1727. Then after this, the important ruler, I'm not naming all the rulers, but the important rulers. So 1739 to 1756. Then so thank you Abhishek, you also. So 1739 to 56, there was this very important ruler of the Bengal, Alivardi Khan. Alivardi Khan, and he will die when he will die in 1756. So in 1756 there would be war of succession in Bengal. War of succession in Bengal, and after this war of succession, 1756 itself, Sirajud-Daulah will become the Nawab of Bengal. Then 1757 Battle of Plassey. ये chronology एक बार लिख लो सब लोग, so that it will be easier to understand that how the things are unfolding in the Bengal. So 1757 Battle of Plassey. And in Battle of Plassey, what happened? Sirajud-Daulah was defeated and later on he was killed. So Sirajud-Daulah was defeated and later on he was killed. After this Battle of Plassey, the next Nawab of the Carnatic, who is from 1757 to 1760, his name is Mir Zafar. And basically, what I need to tell you, that actually this Mir Zafar was the military commander of the Sirajud-Daulah, and he effected a coup, or you can say that he conspirated against the Sirajud-Daulah, and he conspired along with the Britishers. So that's how, with the support of the British, Mir Zafar is coming to power, and as a token of the gratitude, he will be giving so much of money to the Britishers. Then, so that is what Mansi I said, that smart flow of the wealth. Then, so यहाँ से बहुत पैसे मिल रहे हैं. So in 1760 he was there, and 1760 to 63. So this time Mir Qasim, and 1764 Battle of Buxar. And then 1765 Treaty of Allahabad. So this much chronology, right? And then we'll begin with the state of affair in the Bengal. So I'm giving you 1 more minute, write it, and then I'll begin with the state of affair in the Bengal. So now listen to me. So this you must be writing, but now listen. So first thing that I'm going to mention in the Bengal and in Mysore also, that I'll be talking about that in both the places I'll be talking about the state of the affair. And when it comes to the state of affair, so already I mentioned just that it was the richest province of the Mughals, and it was the richest province of the Mughals, and we need to find out that why it was the richest province of the Mughals then, and why it was so important for all the European companies, and why they were running after the trade with the Bengal. So please listen one by one. That this Bengal became the richest province. Gradually it became independent of the Mughal control. You know it, in 1717 when Murshid Quli Khan came to power, and its richest province. So even in the days of the political chaos, one by one we'll be writing, but first you listen to this one. Even in the days of the political chaos, Bengal was a revenue surplus area. So Bengal was a revenue surplus area due to very effective revenue collection system. So I need to explain this, what was this very effective revenue collection system. इसको समझना थोड़ा ध्यान से, that what is this very effective revenue collection system. So when it comes to Bengal, so the revenue collectors, that the most important revenue collectors are the zamindars. I differentiated earlier also when we were talking about those things, zamindar, zagirdar. So zamindars were the one who collected the revenue. Now when Murshid Quli Khan came to power, so what he did, that he thought that this revenue collection, rather than giving the revenue collection authority to large number of zamindars or large number of small or middle zamindars, give it to the powerful zamindars and few zamindars. Then, so Murshid Quli Khan, what he did, that he favored, abhi samajhna isko, favored the development of few powerful zamindars, rather than large number of smaller zamindars. What do I mean by this, and what is the benefit in this one? So Murshid Quli Khan was of the view that he would be favoring the development of the few powerful zamindars rather than large number of smaller zamindars. So listen, that what was the benefit of this one, that few powerful zamindars and then as compared to the smaller zamindars. So when few powerful zamindars are there, so few powerful, I will write these all things on the board. So few powerful zamindars are there. So what are the benefits of this one? So when few powerful are there, so let me write speedy revenue collection. These are the benefits of few powerful zamindars. Easy to check their activity, or easy to survey their activity. Then time is saved. Then, and since they are powerful, so speedy revenue collection, easy to survey their activity. Then that if few people would be there, you know it very well. that it's very easy to manage 10 people rather than managing 100 people. So rather than managing 100 people, again I'll give you some political example, that it was easy to call off the protest when it was located in the Punjab. Then when the farmers were sitting on the tracks of the railway tracks in the Punjab. So it was easy to manage the protest at that point of time. But when lakhs and lakhs of farmers are sitting on the roads of the highways of Delhi, it's not easy to manage. So it's not easy to manage. So same way, so when you have few powerful zamindars, so it is easy to look at their activity, survey their activity, and moreover, few powerful zamindars. Here the term is powerful. So if zamindar is powerful, it means that he can collect the revenue from the people easily, okay? Because he has power, he has his own militia. So with his own militia, he can easily, if he's going to one village with his militia, automatically villagers looking at his militia, they will be giving back the revenue, okay? But what if a smaller zamindar is coming? On the other hand, a smaller zamindar is there. Suppose a smaller zamindar is there. So suppose he is going to a village and large number of smaller zamindars are there. So it's not easy to manage them. Moreover, when this smaller zamindar is going to a village to to get the money with those or to get the revenue from the villagers, what if villagers all of them, they decided that let them come, we will fight them back, we will not give the revenue. So if there are 500 villagers and 50 zamindar men are there, then or less militia are there. So villagers, if they take a resolve that they will not be paying this much amount, they will be paying lesser amount. So zamindar will have to agree to the villagers. Then so obviously there were many difficulties with the smaller zamindars also when it came to the revenue collection. So this way, this person favored the few powerful zamindars, and these few powerful zamindars, they were very speedily, they were collecting the revenue, they were easy to manage, their records can be checked easily, and then time was saved. Then on the other hand, that this would not have been in the case of the smaller zamindars. So this I don't, that with this example, I don't mean to say that there was no smaller zamindar in Bengal. There was, but he favored the development of the larger zamindar. So smallers were also there, but बहुत ज़्यादा number में नहीं थे. So he favored the development of the few larger zamindars. In fact, it is said that by the death of the Murshid Quli Khan, near about 15 zamindars, 15 powerful zamindars were responsible for half of the land revenue collection of the Bengal. So it means a lot that 15 log pure half revenue collect kar rahe, and then suppose that on the other hand smaller zamindars are 100, so 100 people are collecting the rest of the 50%. So I hope you understood this very first part. You write an introduction, so you write first, the province of Bengal gradually became independent. The province of Bengal gradually became independent of Mughal control, after Murshid Quli Khan became governor in 1717. Full stop. Then you write, the important aspects related to Bengal are as follows. Related to Bengal are as follows. So you write the very first one. Bengal was the richest province. Of Mughals. Bengal was the richest province of Mughals. Full stop. Even in the days of political chaos, political chaos. Bengal was revenue surplus area. Bengal was revenue surplus area. Due to very effective, Bengal was revenue surplus area. Due to very effective revenue collection system, due to very effective revenue collection system initiated by Murshid Quli Khan. Initiated by Murshid Quli Khan. Very effective revenue collection system initiated by Murshid Quli Khan. Full stop. He encouraged the development of few powerful zamindars. He encouraged the development of few powerful zamindars at the expense of smaller zamindars. At the expense of smaller zamindars. Full stop. By the time of his death, 15 larger zamindars were responsible for half the revenue of Bengal. So this is one aspect. So I hope you have understood this aspect, why he favored the development of the bigger zamindars. Now, next is another very important aspect of the Bengal, that growing influence of the merchant bankers. So you can write it as a subheading in this particular salient aspect only. So second, growing influence of merchant bankers. Growing influence of merchant bankers. So Bengal was unique then in this sense. So Bengal was unique in this sense that there was importance of the merchant bankers. Now, listen this carefully, that when it comes to the revenue collection, so there was one such limitation on the zamindar also, or you can say that one such condition, not the limitation, one such condition on the zamindar, that these zamindars who have been granted the right of the revenue collection, they need to pay it on time to the Murshid Quli Khan or the Bengal Nawab. So they need to pay it on time, and they cannot cross the time. So this particular aspect of the revenue collection, whereby revenue need to be paid on time or before the last date of the submission, so it brought powerful zamindars, powerful merchant bankers into the picture. So many times suppose that this powerful zamindar or any other zamindar, that he is not able to collect, suppose that he was supposed to submit 5 lakh rupees and he had only 4 lakh rupees. He has collected only 4 lakh rupees. Reason could be anything, that not collection of the 1 lakh rupees, it is very subjective. So in this situation, that what he did, that he took 1 lakh loan from the merchant bankers and submitted it to the Murshid Quli Khan or any other Nawab of the Bengal. Same way, these peasants who are there, so suppose that they are needed to pay, let's suppose there is a one peasant and who needed to pay 10,000 rupees to the zamindar, and he had only 6,000 rupees. Then, so what he will do, he will also take the loan from the merchant bankers and then he will give it back to the zamindar. So all the stages of the transaction, these merchant bankers were very important because they were giving the money. So they were giving the money to these people, obviously on the interest. So their influence was growing. Moreover, If you remember that royal farman of the 1717, which I mentioned, so the Farrukhsiyar, what he did, that he said that this British East India Company, they can further fortify the Calcutta and then they can mint its own coin. So Murshid Quli Khan did not allow it, and in fact he made Bengal as the semi-independent territory. So Murshid Quli Khan was able to protest against the Mughal emperor at this point of time. You know why so? Because he was supported by one of the very powerful merchant bankers, richest merchant bankers of that time. They were Jagat Seth family. So they supported Murshid Quli Khan, and that's how Murshid Quli Khan had the money at his back so that he can protest, he can resent the decision of the Mughal emperor. So Murshid Quli Khan was also dependent on many a times on this moneylender family of the Jagat Seth. Then, so they were the supportive pillars of the Murshid Quli Khan. Many a times that Murshid Quli Khan wanted to, he wanted some money, so this money was provided by this Jagat Seths or the merchant bankers. Moreover, one very important thing I need to tell you, this is how the Bengal is different as compared to the other Mughal states. So that in other Mughal states, the important nobility was there from the Jagirdari. But here, that in Bengal, important nobility was not just from the Jagirdari, Zamindari, but in fact, it was from the merchant bankers. And these merchant bankers were the important nobles of the Bengal court. Then, so, isko likho. So there was a constant pressure on the zamindars. There was a constant pressure on the zamindars to pay revenue on time, which brought powerful bankers into great demand. Great demand. Then after full stop you write, they provided security at every stage of transaction. And enjoyed unprecedented patronage of governor. Unprecedented patronage of Nawab of Bengal. Unprecedented patronage of Nawab of Bengal. And they were main supportive pillars. Of Bengal government. Now here, I'll tell you one such little bit of detail about this family which I mentioned, that this merchant banker family, Jagat Seth. So listen about this one. And I was very surprised and I was amazed that last year only, that in all the batches, not just in one batches, but in all the batches, I was just telling this story of this Jagat Seth. And then one question this year, it altogether came from the story itself. Then, so many a times what happens in the examination, that many a times that story which I am telling you, maybe कुछ उसमें से आ जाए. बहुत बार तो ऐसा होता है कि that stories that I'll be telling you in that ancient and medieval, most of the time I'm seeing that the questions are coming from my stories. Then, so let's look at this one. So Jagat Seth, I need to tell you a little bit. These Jagat Seth were the richest people at this point of time, and when we talk about the family history of the Jagat Seth, so this was the family title given by the Mughal rulers itself. Then that Mughal people only, that later Mughals and also the Bengal Nawab. So Jagat Seth was not something which they were born with. Then they were called because that Jagat Seth ka matlab hota hai bankers to the world. Then so they were really bankers to the world. So this family that it originally was from, that there was a person, his name was Hiranand Sahu. Hiranand Sahu was originally a Jain Marwadi a person. You know Marwadi, that people who are from the Marwad region of the Rajasthan, they are called as the Marwadi. Then, so, and these Marwad people or Marwadi expression is about that these people are the master of trade. Then, and in fact, that in the medieval times, the trade will have come to complete halt if there would not have been the Marwadi community. Then, so people of the Marwad, they were they mastered the art of trading. Then, so they mastered the art of trading, and that's how they became, slowly they became the richest people in India. Then, and even till at this point of time, that there are big corporates who are the Parsis, but otherwise there are many Marwadi families in India who are the big corporates. Then, so these Hiranand Sahu, he was a Jain Marwadi, then Marwadi Jain family, and then his son Manik Chand. Listen this. His son Manik Chand was the supporter of the this person Murshid Quli Khan. Then so Murshid Quli Khan. So Manik Chand continued with the Murshid Quli Khan. When Murshid Quli Khan died and Manik Chand also died, so his son Fateh Chand. Then so his son Fateh Chand, he was the one who operated at the time, I will say that somewhere from 1727 or somewhere from 1720s till 1750s, you can say that till the time of the Alivardi Khan. So he was also very powerful, and in fact that by the time of the Fateh Chand, he was the richest person in the contemporary world. So Fateh Chand was the richest person in the contemporary world. Let me give you some insight about their income. So insight about their income. So insight about their income, that when it comes to the income of this Jagat Seth family, so from the interest, that the loans that they were giving to zamindars or other people, anybody. So from that particular loans, they were their income was somewhere around 40 lakh per annum from this one. Moreover, Murshid Quli Khan, when he came to power in 1717, so he also gave the minting rights to the this Jagat Seth. Then, so he did not give it to the Britishers, but it was given to the Jagat Seths. So Jagat Seths were the one who were operating the mint of Bengal. So from this mint only 15 to 20 lakh was their income, that 15 to 20. And one very important, then, so one very important, they are called as the merchant banker. Okay? So banker wala to jaan gaye ki loan de rahe. Merchant, so these people, that these Jagat Seth, first they were merchant. So what they are doing, they were buying goods from the Indian producer. Indian producer, they bought good from the Indian producers and they sold these goods to the Europeans. Then selling these goods to the Europeans. So this they are facilitating as a merchant. Then large amount of Indian product they are buying from the Indian producer, selling it to the Europeans. Suppose that one Indian producer, suppose that he has created a Parle-G biscuit, 10 rupees. Then so he is giving to this merchant banker in 12 rupees and he is selling to the Europeans in 20 rupees. So there is a benefit that there is always a ready buyer for the Indian producers, and then that's how these merchants, they are selling it to the Europeans. They are also accruing huge benefits. So near about 40 lakh they got from this activity also. So you can say that in 1720s there is a family whose income is near about 1 crore per annum. Then so 1 crore per annum, and 1 crore in 1720 is a huge amount. It's a very huge amount. Moreover, I need to tell you that these people, that these merchant banker Jagat Seth family, at that point of time, there was this bill of exchange and what we call, yahi aaya tha question paper mein, hundi. So they never signed a check that you can call as a check. So hundi was the check of that time, or bill of exchange. So they never signed a check less than 1 lakh rupees. ठीक है? So 1 lakh से नीचे का कोई हुंडी नहीं होता था, इनका चेक ही नहीं होता था. So they were signing, and very easily they were signing the 1 lakh hundi to 2 lakh hundi to people. Moreover, there was a time, I need to tell you that how wealthy they were. there was a time when Marathas invaded Bengal, and when they invaded Bengal, so these merchant bankers, Jagat Seth's family, they had so many koti. Then, so many kotis means that koti, those people who are from the north and then eastern India, they know the meaning of the koti, but means that they had many huge mansions, then huge mansions or bungalow, and in these all mansions huge amount of wealth was there. So they looted some of the mansions, and at this point of time the Nawab of the Bengal, Alivardi Khan, he needed money, and that money was in the quantum of the 2 crore rupees. So they, without any hesitation, they signed a check of the 2 crore, and this check was known as the Darsani Hundi. Then, so they called it, this is called as the Darshani Hundi. So Darshani Hundi was in crore amounts. So this I told as a story, and then this year they asked that what is Hundi. Then, so Hundi is a bill of exchange or a check. Then it's a kind of a check, or it's a kind of a bill of exchange. So bill of check, क्या लिखा है मैंने, उल्टा लिख दिया मैंने, बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज, एंड चेक का स्पेलिंग भी गलत लिखा है मैंने. सो बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज. सो यू कैन राइट दैट, नोट करके लिख लो. You write a note and then you write, Bengal was unique in the sense, Bengal was unique in the sense that its most important nobility not only came from Jagirdari Zamindari, but also from the merchant bankers. Then you write, going by one estimate, Jagat Seth family were the richest people in the contemporary world. Then, so this is about the note. If you want to write Hundi, so you can write it as a sub-note kind of bill of exchange. I don't need to tell you about those stories that everything should be written. So I hope that you must be jotting down some of the details while I'm telling you the story. So ऐसे ही होता है कि सब कुछ लिखा तो नहीं सकते, but कुछ तुम लोग अपने end पे भी थोड़ा लिख लिया करो, ठीक है? So this is about the merchant banker activity. Then now, next such aspect of the Bengal. So I think how many aspects we have seen? We have seen 2 aspects only. So let's come to the third aspect of the Bengal. So Bengal always had lucrative trade and moreover political stability. So you know that political stability is very much required in any country for development to happen. That if there is no political stability, so obviously the development is marred. So political stability was there in the Bengal. For example, that if you see the tenure of the Murshid Quli Khan, 10 years, 1717 to 1727, and ended it with his death only. Then after, in between 1727 to 1739, 2 rulers, means that good enough. Then, so good enough political stability. And again, in 1739, when Alivardi Khan is coming to power, and till his death, there is no such challenge to his power. So it means that next 17 years, no challenge. Means political stability. So because of the political stability, there was a development, and moreover that agricultural productivity was very high in the Bengal. Then so agricultural productivity was the very high in the Bengal, which further provided richness to the Bengal. So please write this next one. Bengal always had lucrative trade and political stability. Full stop. Moreover, increase in agricultural productivity, moreover, increase in agricultural productivity during Murshid Quli's regime, provided further richness of Bengal. Then now listen that in the 18th century there was some political turmoil. Then what was this political turmoil? Because that land route which was there, when we talk about the land route, so land route which was there, that from India to Central Asia, from Central Asia to European world, so India to Persia and Persia to European world, so this land route was affected. And why it was affected? Because there were invaders in this area who were always invading India. And who were this invader in 18th century? In 1739 onwards, Nadir Shah, then Ahmad Shah Abdali. So even at this point of time, when there was a political turmoil in the 18th century, so the many other areas in India, for example, northwest and north area, their trade was declining. That Bengal trade never declined because Bengal was closer to the sea. So the trade through sea route always flourished in Bengal. So while in 18th century in other areas, because of the political turmoil, the trade is declining, but it didn't happen over there in Bengal. In fact, that sea trade thrived at this point of time in the Bengal. So this is one benefit of Bengal being at a strategic place, that land route se to connected tha hi, but being closer to the Bay of Bengal, it was also an added advantage. So you write, during the political turmoil of 18th century, traffic from overland route partially declined. But oceanic trade thrived. Because of oceanic trade thrived, not because काट देना, with the increased investment from European companies in Bengal. So let's discuss the last aspect of the Bengal. So the last aspect of the Bengal, listen this very carefully. So Bengal always enjoyed favorable balance of trade. I hope you all must be aware with this term, that what is balance of trade. So when you kind of calculate this export minus import, then so if it is coming positive, means that favorable balance of trade. Then so favorable balance of trade. So Bengal always had favorable balance of trade. Now listen, why it was possible. So एक बार इस flow chart को देखना, that in this flow chart what I'm creating, so that will be that will make clear that how there is a favorable balance of trade. So first I'm writing here, let me write it over here, Indian producer or Bengali producer also you can write. Then after that here merchant bankers, Indian producer, merchant bankers, then or European companies, better write European, British बाद में लिखेंगे, Europeans Europeans, and then here I am writing European market. So now listen, that European market. So here you see that suppose that there is a one product. There is a one product. This Indian producer is selling this product to the merchant banker 10 rupees. ये notional है, ठीक है? This is notional. So Indian producer is selling one product to the merchant banker 10 rupees. He is selling to the Europeans 20 rupees. ठीक है? And Europeans are selling it to the European market 50 rupees. Then, so you can see that everybody is making profit. And if the cost of the Indian producer, suppose that it is 7 rupees. So cost of producing that particular article is 7 rupees. So he is selling at 10 rupees. Then merchant bankers, he has his profit. Europeans, when they are selling it in the European market, they have the profit. Then, so they have the profit. So this is one such scenario that Bengal, trade in Bengal was kind of that win-win situation for everybody who was involved, except the European market. Then, so win-win situation. Moreover, where is the ruler? So ruler, the Bengal ruler taxed all the activity. So there is a tax at this stage, which Bengal ruler is getting. There is a tax this place Bengal ruler is getting. Then and then this is up to. So every stage of the transaction is taxed. So then Bengal ruler is also getting the benefit. Moreover, Bengal was the manufacturing hub in India at this point of time. There were so many goods to offer to the British company. And moreover, that cotton textile was very important. Then so cotton textile was very important. So all the European companies were running for the cotton textile over here. So there was so much of export from the Bengal. And Bengal was, that import to the Bengal was negligent. In fact, nothing. They imported from outside. So, which means that if you're exporting too much of manufactured good and not importing anything, so there would be a favorable balance of trade. And moreover, this trade activity is beneficial for everybody who is there in the Bengal. So it was a win-win situation for everyone. So please write. Bengal always enjoyed a favorable balance of trade. Bengal always enjoyed a favorable balance of trade with surplus bullion brought in by European companies to buy Bengali goods. And I hope you are understanding what is bullion. Generally trade is happening in the gold and silver only, not in the currencies. Then, so when you are establishing trade with the other countries at that point of time, so it is happening in bullion, not in the currency. So bullion here is the gold and silver. Then, so you write on the Indian side. The trade was dominated by merchant bankers. Full stop. On the Indian side, trade was dominated by the merchant bankers. Then further you mention, this trade was mutually beneficial. To Indian producers, Indian merchants, British traders, and Indian rulers. Full stop. Then further you mention, after full stop, Indian rulers charged the trading activity of the Europeans. And moreover, you know that for an area that suppose that Britishers are coming to the Bengal, they want to trade over there. So they needed to do some peshkas to the native ruler, some kind of that initial bribe or initial such donations to the ruler. So this is peshkas or nazrana. So this also you write. Moreover, for getting permission to trade in Bengal, moreover, for getting permission to trade in Bengal, Europeans needed to make a peshkas, to the native ruler, peshkas to the native ruler. So peshkas to the native ruler. So this is all about that, the different or salient aspects of the Bengal. So today we have discussed the salient aspects of the Bengal, why it was very important and why it was becoming richer and richer. Then, so I hope that you have understood these all part, but if at all any question related to that any part you haven't understood, so next class I'll be addressing that part also. And moreover, next class will be completing the Bengal part, and I will start with after the Bengal, I will start with the Mysore. Then I'll be looking at that, we'll be looking at the Mysore, and then after Mysore, Maratha, and after Maratha, Punjab. So with this note, I'm winding up today's class, and hopefully we are meeting next week. So this week I didn't had any class, but all of a sudden that with your batch this is happening this way only, that all of a sudden I'm getting information that there would be a class tomorrow. Chalo, anyways, it is good that classes must happen in continuous fashion. So next week we'll be meeting. Thank you for today.